G'day guys, welcome back to another episode in the shed with Uncle Paulie. In today's episode we're going to be working on BAZ and you're going to be finding out what goes on in this shed when no one's watching. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is trying to get this car onto the hoist, which is over there. Bear with me and I'm going to try and line it up with the old hoist and then yeah, let's see what we can do.
You got the best of me.
That was definitely a lot harder than it looked. I'm gonna call that in the middle. That looks pretty good to me. Basically, I'm thinking before I start pulling the thing off, I might actually lift it up and give you a bit of a look at what it looks like when it's jacked up at its ride height. I might just quickly do that now, just before I start pulling it apart. Righto, so currently where I've got the car sitting at now, this is full droop. So this is as far as the suspension will go. Those King shocks looking all spicy in there. But yeah, basically just to give you an idea of how much droop and flex and stuff, that's about it. These are 35s, not 37s. These aren't the wheels that are going to be running on it. They're just some wheels that come from Facebook Marketplace and they were laying out in the yard. So I needed a set of wheels just to put on the car for it to sit in the shed. So yeah, particularly that was pretty pointless doing that, but I just wanted to see how cool it looked. I'm going to show you how it looks when it's at its ride height. So I'll just try and roughly guess it off shock length. Where I've got it sitting at now, this is the ride height of the car when it's all finished. So you can see the roof. Me, I'm about 6 foot tall. Basically, I'm trying to keep it as low as I possibly can, that everything still works and it'll still flex. And yeah, as you can see, it's sort of Cali leaning in the back, how it's sitting there now, but just to give you a bit of an idea, these upper arms, the way I designed my geometry, they should be level with the ground at ride height. Basically, that's just me going, oh yeah, that'd be a nice height. That's where I'd sort of like to have it, nice and low and plenty of up travel, you know, everything's gonna work. It's gonna be nice and stable and handle well on the road and whatever else. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I just really wanted to have a look. Righto, so I'm gonna get stuck into ripping this thing apart. I'm gonna set this little camera up here and yeah.
You got the best of me.
Couple test runs.
You got the best of me.
Trusty old flooding.
You got the best of me. You got the best of me.
Every time that I pull out little bolts like this, I always try and put them back in where they come out of, just because this has been about 3 years. I've been pulling this apart and putting it back together. Probably not going to need this seat in here. Not right now anyway. Ooh, a big, strong Aussie boy. Someone put a hoist in the road. Couldn't make this look any harder. Whoa, I'm back. Righto, so now I've got it to here. My next plan of attack, I'm going to try and get this cab off. Oh no. Big, strong Aussie boy. Got all the guards and everything off now. I'm going to try and get this hoist positioned so that I can lift the cab up in the air, and then I'm going to try and roll the chassis out from under it. I've got to do some bracing on the floor of this cab and a couple other things and just yeah, finish it off, ready for the cab to be taken to the panel shop for its next stage. Just go and get this hoist all set up.
Stuck on you.
Just going to take his over here and give you a little bit of a look. So as you can see, I've put this whole new floor in. This is a LCS floor from Uncle Richie and Uncle Laurie. So it's a full replacement. Basically, you go around, cut the old one out, weld this one in. And I need to go around and trim up all these edges. You can see this here. Basically, I've just put the floor in and that's it. I haven't even been underneath this since I tacked it all in. So yeah, got to go around. This here, this was the spot where the intake plenum, I'll take this and show you. So when I dropped the motor in, this plenum here, this corner got a little bit close to that firewall, and I actually had to massage it a little bit. But basically, this sort of let me know the area where it needs a bit more clearance. Obviously, I had a motor and stuff in the road. We just sort of pushed it forward a little bit, and I heated that with oxy, gave it a few bangs. So now what I'm actually gonna do is try and smooth that out. I might cut it out, put a piece in there, whatever I need to do. The rest of the firewall isn't too bad. This is just like rusty paint, and yeah, I've just got to trim up all these edges. Even under here, it's all looking pretty good. And the other thing that I need to do is to brace this floor, because you can see here, this isn't very solid. I'm not actually 100% sure how Laurie does that. So what I'm gonna do is just ring him and ask him, and I'm gonna do whatever he says. Also, there is a few little spot welds and stuff that I need to do here. I'm not gonna show you the whole thing, otherwise the video will go forever. I'm gonna get into it. I'll show you a little bit of what I do and go from there. So I've got the first one sitting up here with a couple of clamps on it. Probably the hardest part of this job is trying to keep the floor flat. If I put too much heat into it with too many welds or whatever, it's gonna go all warped and all funny. And that's kind of the whole purpose of putting this brace in the first place, is to try and keep it nice and straight. If I can get it nice and flat when I tack it in, that's gonna help a lot. So I've had to improvise a little bit. I've got the jack here with a bit of aluminium, just trying to push this up because it was bowing down in the middle. And I've gone and clamped it to these, but then I've had to tap the ends up with a hammer and keep tightening these up to try and get it to pull up nice and flat. I think this is gonna work. I don't know about the one that goes across here. I've got nothing, there's no way of clamping it to it, so I'm gonna have to use something like that to do it. Obviously, I've got to be careful too, because it's actually off the hoist there now. Now I've got them tacked in, I'm gonna put some pieces in here just to tie it all together and hold this part of the floor up, which is pretty flimsy. I wanna do like a miter cut on these angles so it matches up. So I'm just putting this in here. So I just put this angle gauge in here, and I've sort of eyeballed it to get the angle of the cab. And then I'm just gonna lop it off in the saw at that. Oh, let's go for a little walk over to here. I think that length there will probably do me. Lock that up there. Do this up. So now I've got everything basically tacked in there. So I've got my plug welds to do from the top here. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna let it down on the hoist, and I'm gonna plug weld all those holes up. So hopefully that works. So you can see all my little holes that I drilled, and you can see that bit of blue steel there. Put it back up in the air now, and burn in the bottom under the floor. And then I've got some speaker pods to weld into the top side, and a couple of other things. I need to sort out this hole in the roof from the spotlight that was originally in it. As you can see there. It doesn't need to be fancy because it's an old patina car. I don't have to go crazy, like do some body work that's gonna bloody, you know, blend it all in and make it look all pretty. All I gotta do, literally, is block the hole so it doesn't let water in, and I'll be happy. But the next job is this bad boy. This is the only bit of rust in this entire cab, other than, you know, a bit of surface rust here and there where a bit of paint's come off. This is the only bit of actual, like, problem rust. And it's only just in this upright here, so that is my next plan of attack. I'm gonna have to try and cut this little piece out and remake it and weld a new piece in there. You've never seen how one of these things works, so I'll show you. Basically in there's like a big pair of scissors. This yellow beam clamps your bit of sheet down, and then in beside it's a big blade that cuts it like a big pair of scissors. Something like that. Bang. Then you just gotta go around the back and grab it. So this is basically the shape that we're working with here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do that most technical little double fold bend there first, and the little 25mm lip which angles out this way to be about 90 degrees, and I think that one we'll just call it 45 because I'm going to be able to bend it even if I need to tap with a hammer when I tack it in there. I just got to try and make something that looks kind of like that, and I've got to cut a piece out and just weld it in there. Mark this out. I always use a scribe because to use a texter, it's very easy to sort of get out of place. The thickness of a texter is usually about 1 or 2 or 3 mil. Thickness of this mark is very precise. I don't know if this is going to be the same or fit or whatever, but there's the picture I drew. There's the piece that I made. I don't know how close it's going to be. Might not even fit at all yet. Soon find out. Looks sort of like it. I think it should actually be not too far off. Either way, it's going to be better than that. Whoa. So I've got it all welded in there. One of those jobs where I just sort of had to get stuck in and get it done. Took quite a while. Sort of had to put the camera down and get into it. Probably been about 2 hours, maybe not that long. Probably at least an hour and a half of mucking around. Half of the time was probably spent sanding, just trying to get in all the little corners and stuff and try and make it look all nice. So yeah. So as you can see, this one was glued in, but I managed to get it out in one piece, so which is good. So basically, it just saves me having to buy a new one. It's also got the original Rego sticker and stuff on it, so I'd like to keep that if possible. Won't be needing this. She is looking pretty bloody good. A few little things still left bolted to it, and a few little things that could do with a little bit more prepping, but going to be a fair bit of work in it for the boys, especially trying to sandblast everything without destroying the original paint. So basically going to have to sandblast this and not damage this. That's going to be a challenge for them. They have some special blast tape that they can tape around and sort of mask this stuff up, and then I think they'll turn the air pressure down and, you know, do it lightly around the edges. She's looking pretty bare. Obviously going to have to make a little plate for that. That little bracket can come out. I've got to make a little panel for this section here, which I'm going to use to mount some of my stuff. My ECU wires and things like that will most likely go in through there, and I'll get some rubber grommets for the rest of these holes. A lot of people, they like to go and weld up all these holes and smooth everything out. I'm not going to bother spending that much time because this isn't a full like restoration gloss, like perfection paint job. I'm keeping it old and beaten up because it's just going to go out on the tracks and get beaten up anyway. So it's not going to be a show car. I've got to find this little grate that goes in there. It'll be somewhere in the shed with that other cover. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it up in the hoist. I'm gonna get Frank, big Frankie boy, and I'm gonna back him in under with some pallets and hopefully let it down on the tray and strap it on and take it to the paint shop. Now, for those of you that don't know what Big Frank is, you're about to see the greatest vehicle ever created in the history of four-wheel drives. Big Frankie boy. Have a listen to this. Yeah. Mighty LN 106, Big Frankie boy. One little annoying thing with Frank, and this is gonna not help the situation of trying to put this cab on the back, but these mirrors, all you can see is the tray in both sides. Well, that one's actually pointing out into whoop whoop, but kind of just go by feel, you know? Gonna have to go find a pallet out in the yard here somewhere. Big Frankie boy. Strong Aussie boy. couple of big Aussie pallets. See if I can back him under the hoist now. Oh, premium windy windows. I've got no idea where I'm going, but I'm going backwards. That worked much better than I expected. Sitting on there really nicely, that new floor. I'm going to call that mission accomplished. We have BAZ on the back of Big Frank, and it is ready to go off to the paint shop. So unfortunately, that's going to be all for this episode, and I'm going to save the rest for later. Hopefully, in the next episode or the coming episodes, you're going to see Big BAZ with a bit of paint on it, put back on the chassis, and all the build process from then on. So unfortunately, I didn't film a lot of the early stuff when I started the build, and I can only share what I have got with you. But basically you're coming in on the cool part, so it's like me putting together all the freshly painted stuff with the cool parts, getting it running and driving it. That's basically what the next series of episodes are going to be all about. So yeah, if you like this stuff, make sure you don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and stay up to date with the rest of all the videos. Really appreciate all the support you guys are giving me in the previous videos. I've also got a merch store with my Emu custom shirts. So I'm not actually wearing mine now, but I've got my Emu Customs website, which is www.emucustoms.com, where I have a couple of cool shirts on there. So, but mostly I'd just like to thank you for even coming and watching these videos and giving them a like and leaving a comment to let me know. So yeah, just a big thanks for all of you legends that are doing that. See you on the next episode.